think a lot of personalization is just when you show things, right? And maybe you have a lot of good content. It's just when do you show it to the customer, which one? But I think the content generation can take it to the next level, which we'll see in the coming years.
Welcome back to Playbook Broken, where we dismantle the go-to market strategies that used to work and talk about what actually works now. Today's episode, CDPs, data infrastructure, composability, AI-fueled marketing, and what it takes to win in a fragmented, fast-moving ecosystem. Joining me today is Tejas Manohar, Co-CEO, Hightouch, company reshaping what data can do for marketing personalization. Before co-funding Hightouch, he was an engineer at Segment, and way back when, an intern, I think, with HubSpot. Now, Hightouch, fresh off major momentum, including a brand spanking new partnership with Snowflake as part of their new AI-focused marketing venture fund. Welcome to Playbook Broken.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Really excited to be chatting with you, who you obviously have a very successful business yourself that I'm a big fan of.
Love it. Love to talk to a fan. It's always a good thing. Excited to get into it with you. Segment to a CDP disruptor. It's quite a career journey. How's it been going so far? It sounds like it's going great.
Going well. Yeah, we started at Hightouch about 6 years ago. Prior to that, as you mentioned, I was a very early engineer at Segment, one of the first 10 engineers at the company. Before the term CDP or customer data platform was even really a thing. And so it was great to see the birth of that space. A lot of companies coming at it from different angles, many of which have been acquired or reformed in the last few years. But then Segment obviously had a very successful outcome, sold to Twilio for over $3 billion. And what we sort of saw was that every large consumer company, B2B companies too, but especially consumer companies, really wanted a CDP. Besides how cool the acronym sounds, they particularly wanted to have a product or platform that helps them as marketing teams really understand their customers, have all their customer data in one place, and be able to activate it to send personalized emails, push, text, ads, digital experiences, offers, personalize every single touch point that they're having with their customers. And that is a need that's only been growing. I think COVID, we've seen a lot of tailwinds in the space. Everyone's going D2C. Everyone's trying to stand out and fight for the consumer's attention. But the bar for doing that has just gone up and up and up. And the real question is, how can you use as much data as possible, and now as much AI and intelligence as possible to make those recommendations of what to show a customer? And so at Hightouch, the way we kind of differentiate from the very large landscape of many CDPs out there is we invented this philosophy of a composable CDP. So the idea of having a marketing team just tap right into the data that companies are already putting into Snowflake, Databricks, Azure, Google Cloud, wherever your IT team is putting all your data, we'll tap into that. We'll help make it ready for marketing, solve problems like identity, customer 360, integrate third-party data. And then boom, we'll give your marketing team an interface where you can actually start building audiences, building journeys, and using AI to determine what to show each customer. So it's been a lot of fun. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about the space.
It is a dream. And we're going to get into that as we get into kind of the playbook, talking about how the playbook's breaking down and what's happening with all this technology. But it's interesting you started with kind of like the beginning of the CDP market. We, MarTech pre-COVID still have a number of CDP customers. That market from a media standpoint, us looking at, it's like really been, I don't know, embattled, I think is the right term, right? It's high competition, high stakes, lots of investment. There was an article recently on MarTech. The headline was, "Nobody knows what a CDP is anymore, and that's the problem." My only anecdotal story there is, I think it was 2018, we had 6 or 7 or 8 CDP different vendors at the MarTech show, and it was San Francisco that year. And I walked around to each one of them with a notebook. I was like, just in a couple of sentences, what does a CDP do? And I got six different answers, and wildly different answers. So I think, the CDP category has kind of gone through a bunch of journeys. Do you think it sounds like it might be finally evolving, or am I wrong in my assertion that it was sort of a little bit confusing or different takes?
Yeah, it's a good question. The funny part is the acronym of a CDP, a customer data platform, is very attractive to marketing teams, partly because it sounds like it can solve all the problems, right? It could be helping you get data into one place, helping you use data, helping you do personalization, helping you do AI. Like it could mean anything really. And so I don't love the acronym, but it's the one the market's chosen. To us, I think when we entered the market, we had a clear perspective, which is that CDP is actually not one product. It's a collection of products. And you shouldn't have to just go buy one product as your CDP because you may not even need that, right? I think CDP has so many parts: collecting data, identity resolution, audience building, journey building, integrations to different platforms, advertising functionality. And so we've taken all those major components and made them individual products that you can purchase at Hightouch. That's another philosophy behind the composable CDP. Obviously, you purchase more products from us, they all work together really nicely. But what we're finding is that a lot of companies just need to solve a very specific problem. Like the most common problem that we help companies solve is that they have a lot of data in technologies like Snowflake or data warehouses, data lakes, but marketers don't have a way to access that data. They usually have to go through a data analyst or data engineer or a marketing ops person to build an audience segment and run a campaign against that segment across many channels. And that's a problem we solve easily by giving you an audience builder. We call it our customer studio, but it's just an audience builder that can plug into wherever your data is in Salesforce or Snowflake or whatever it is, allow you to easily build audiences as a marketer and then sync it to any system. We support 300 different kind of marketing systems, ads and emails and whatever. So we kind of have broken up CDP. It means multiple things. And I don't think every company should just go buy some end-to-end CDP.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think your explanation makes a lot of sense, and there are different components, different business models, different structures, whatever it might be. The composable concept is a relatively new. I think it's been a couple of years since we've heard the word composable on the scene. Did you guys coin that term?
We did. Someone who worked at Hightouch named Lee Hammond. Actually, he used to work at Hightouch, and when he was here, it was a term we were thinking about for a while. Some customers had used it, but he really pushed us. He's like, we should call it composable. I think this is MarTech. And it did. So Hightouch was the first vendor to embrace that term.
I had a feeling that wasn't a leading question. I didn't actually know the answer to that question. I had a feeling. I think it's so important because you're right. CDP as a acronym, customer data platform, is this huge thing, and it makes you think that you can just sort of drop things in and it just magically works. But the customer journey is just too complex, I think, for that.
Yeah, and companies are solving some of these problems in different ways. I think companies have invested so much in data over the last 5-10 years. There's a lot of data teams who have their own customer identity solution where they use LiveRamp to merge all their first and third party together and have a customer identifier. So they don't need a CDP's identity resolution, but they have this problem around accessing and activating the data. Or there's other companies that, their audience segmentation doesn't need to be that complicated. They don't need to change it all the time. Maybe they're a B2B company, or maybe they have a solution in place that's good enough there. And their real problem is merging data from their stores and their digital e-commerce site. And so they do want this identity resolution module because they don't have the data science team and data engineering team to build internally. So we just kind of recognize that this is like multiple products, and it's just a general space of, you want to do things with customer data. Other companies have already solved those problems, and you shouldn't be solving it again internally. And so we're building a lot of solutions that we think are the core building blocks that companies should be able to easily start using if they have data problems from everything that I just mentioned. Identity, AI.
There's a lot of logic to that. Like it's very structured thinking. I'm curious, I don't know if I truly believe what I'm about to say, but like just from a framework, like I think marketers over the years with more access to more data have had to become adept at manipulating and using data. Obviously, I know that like the balance of how often I used to use Excel versus how much I use it today is like completely flipped. It used to be rarely, and now it's all data. Has the pendulum swung too far? I mean, I guess the question is like, should marketers be spending so much time on data, or really utilizing it's a little bit of a leading question, but utilize the insights to drive marketing versus like worrying so much about gathering the data, putting the data together, being smart at, pivot tables, the rest of the stuff. Like, talk to me about that, because it feels like that has switched with new technologies.
Yeah. So our perspective is that the area of the marketing technology stack that has the most room for innovation, and this is where we really focus at Hightouch. We have other products, but where we focus and where we're doing a lot of R&D is, once you have the data, what do you do with it? That's the problem. So we call that data activation. The first product we had in the space that helps with that, just, helps you build audiences easily, helps you build journeys easily, helps you trigger those across every marketing or advertising tool out there. But we can go a lot further than that. I think CDPs have stopped with just that one problem of here's an audience builder, and now do what you want with it. What we're really looking at is how do you use technologies like AI and machine learning, so both traditional machine learning as well as generative AI together to automatically pull out insights from your data. So for example, if I'm a marketer at a retailer and I want to drive more people to use my mobile app, or I want to get people to start shopping multi-categories, maybe there's specific categories, or I want to know when's the right time to introduce my credit card or my loyalty card and start encouraging customers to sign up for that. Today, most marketing teams have to do a lot of guesswork to get to those answers. Maybe they have a few questions that they check in the database. Do more men or women buy the credit card? Is it more popular in South or Northeastern regions? But AI has this opportunity to just look through the data and check 100 times more than what you or I are going to check, no matter what tool you give us, an audience builder, SQL query, a Python notebook, a data engineer. Like AI can check 100 times more things and do it a lot faster. And so that's really our focus, is how do we build products that make people spend less time, changing filters and playing with data, and more time asking business questions like, what is the best way to engage a customer that's new to my brand? And I want to drive to these three goals. I want to get them on a credit card. I want to get them to start gifting. I want to get them cross category. And I don't know the right order for which one. Like,
right.
why run an A/B test, 100 A/B tests to figure that out? I should have an AI that does that. And that's what our AI decisioning product does. It literally automates all the A/B testing and analyzes the results with AI and then makes the journeys on the fly to figure out what you should send different customers. And same with insights. We're doing a lot of interesting R&D with just allowing marketers to ask a little AI co-pilot like a ChatGPT questions like, what drives the customer to adopt subscriptions, or what differentiates my high LTV customers? And for those insights to flow back and us to be able to ask follow-up questions, like imagine a ChatGPT on top of all your data. Really.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're all talking about that, right? Because I think that's clearly the future. Let's segue into the core of the conversation, which is what I call the playbook breakdown. So let's look at the traditional enterprise marketing playbook, right? Big spend, fragmented tools, dozens of dashboards, frankly, lots of confusion. I think that used to be the norm. And for most, I don't want to say most, for lots of marketers, that's still what's happening. Should it ever have been like that? Or is this a function of like, now that we have these super powerful tools, we now have the emergence of a new playbook?
So I think spaces, any category of technology goes through a swing of innovation and creating a lot of new stuff, and then bundling where everyone gets to come and say, 10 people did it 10 ways, and there's actually 3 ways that are the right way to do it. And so we benefited from that a little bit in the CDP category. As you mentioned, Mark, there were 8, 10 players before. I think now the market's getting more concentrated, where there's Salesforce, there's Adobe, and there's a few, up and comers like Hightouch, for example. And we all had the luxury of being a second mover and looking and seeing what's the best way to approach this problem that was very messy before, while everyone is figuring it out. So I think we're going to see 2 things. One, for all the MarTech we've thought about over the last 10 years, ESPs, DXPs, DAMs, CDPs, like all of that stuff's going to get a lot simpler. And enterprise buyers are going to have to deal with less vendors there. Companies like Hightouch are shipping a lot of new features. Companies like Salesforce and Adobe are doing the same. I have my opinions, but everyone's shipping a lot of capabilities. And I think people say you can't do everything well. You actually can when you're a second mover. You actually really can. And so I think on the other side with AI, I think there'll be an explosion of tools that companies are adopting. And you have to lean into that as a company if you want to be innovative, because there's not going to be any one player that solves everything under one umbrella. That's just not the way new technologies work. Everyone tries different things and they're not all unified yet. So marketing teams are going to have explosion of tools. They're using a lot of ChatGPT, a lot of Copilot, a lot of tools that are more point solutions, like our AI decisioning product for automatic experimentations of lifecycle marketing or on-site personalization. They'll probably be using tools that are, agents that can go mine through your data, be using content generation tools. And in 5 years, they'll get simpler, but we won't have that luxury if we want to stay competitive as a brand over the next few years in AI. If you're a brand and you want to stay competitive, you're going to have to adopt a lot of tools over the next 5 years.
What strikes me, and this has come up on a couple of these episodes, what strikes me is there's the tech component, which you guys are driving at, building, really cutting edge, like you said, sort of second mover advantage solutions in the market. You've looked at what works, sort of like, okay, great. This didn't work as great. We can take this approach. Composability is a fascinating scenario. But the thing that I keep coming back to in all these conversations, and it's kind of the heart of Playbook Broken, is it's still people, right? We're not yet to a fully automated, future.
For
like
sure.
I'm still flesh and blood. I still make mistakes. I still have to make decisions. I still have to, even with an AI, I still have to take.
Yeah, I wish we didn't have to, right? But
exactly, right? Like, maybe, I don't know. That's a different conversation for a different podcast. But I mean, I think that's like how, like with your customers, let's just say, are they, are you seeing that intersection between kind of the human component, the change component, like we have these here's my own story is I tried to build some automation, some simple tools. And what I found was taking existing processes and trying to automate them is actually not the right way to do that. The right way to do it is to rethink what I'm trying to accomplish for a AI automated, Zapier driven universe. Right. And so I think that's part of what I'm interested in on the Playbook is like, and I think that CDPs, CMSs, ERPs, you name it, any three letters you want were all at some point new technology, some of which made it through, some of which failed spectacularly. My assumption is because it was the people and the process side, not necessarily the technology side. So like, I think that's what's most interesting to me about Playbook breaking is it's the people, not tools, I don't think, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, that's fully correct. Just having new tools that do the old process a new way doesn't cut it. And I think this idea of innovation, there's, you got to change everything up to bundling and things stabilized and all becomes easier. It applies to every aspect of the marketing organization. It applies to the tools. It applies to the I don't want to say people, but the mindsets on your team, right? If we're operating on a very marketing calendar, batch and blast type of methodology. And then now you ask ChatGPT to build your batch and blast calendar, it's still going to be a batch and blast calendar. And so it operates on, I'm not saying you need to get a new marketing leader, but you need to get one that has a new mindset of how we can use AI in a different way. And that's the most successful ones. And same with even the channels, right? I think you can't assume that people are going to interact with your website the same way that they interacted with your website a few years ago. Consumers are going to be, if you're an airline or a rental car company or a travel company, consumers are going to be viewing their travel planning in ChatGPT. And so if you're just optimizing your website, that's not going to cut it. That's not going to work, right? So it happens on every sort of surface area. And so the people point is super interesting. And I think we're seeing exactly that. I guess the marketing calendar is actually a great, specific example of that, which is a lot of companies, especially in their CRM marketing function, but it applies to advertising and other areas too, have been operating in this world where they only have a certain amount of bandwidth on how many campaigns they can execute on at a given time, how many topics they can be talking about to their customers. So they often orient all their marketing around what's important to them right now as a business. CEO says, I need to sell more subscriptions. I'm going to send a lot of stuff out to the market about subscriptions. But the reality is maybe only 25% of your customer base is ready for that subscription offering. And the other 75% should be buying the stuff you've been selling for the last few years and more of it. And I think what the most successful marketing teams are going to be doing over the next couple of years is figuring out how to use AI to not just do what you did before as a marketing team faster with less people. That's okay. But the real thing to stay competitive as a business, no CMO is going to get fired or hired for just doing the same thing with less people. CEO of the company cares about the end metrics. And with the end metrics, the way you actually do that is you adopt a new marketing process. For example, the trend we're seeing is from going from this, batch and blast calendar-based marketing approach to an approach where you're actually messaging each customer about what is really relevant and interesting to that customer, and using AI to do that at a higher scale than you can do before. And that's really the goal of our AI decisioning product, but also just the broader market category we're seeing here.
Yeah. The question I have written down that I'm staring at right now is, and I'm just going to read it and then we'll talk about it. Is the personalization era, quote, a myth marketers have been selling themselves? But that question is colored by the moment in time that we're in, I think, because we've been talking about one-to-one marketing for, I don't even know. It's like 25 or 30 years. Like the one-to-one marketing book, I think, was written in like 92 or something. I have to double check. I should double check my dates, but it's been a long time. And it's always been a promise with every new technology wave, right? All of them. In particular, CRM, right? That was sort of the big one back in the day. It was like, hey, single source of truth. We know all of our customers. We know what they want, but we never had, AI, to oversimplify, maybe AI is the difference now. But what you're saying is that, and I've asked other people on the show, hey, are we finally there? The consensus is yes, but we thought so then too. Like, are we now finally at a moment where we can actually effectively, not in a creepy way, not in a strange way, kind of personalize communications to every single individual customer up and down the chain? I think the answer is yes, but because I think that's what you just said. So just let me confirm that first and let's keep talking about it.
Yes. So yes and no. So I'll talk about the yes part first, and then we'll talk about the no part. I think we've had data for a really long time. We've had new age CRM marketing tools like Braze and Iterable and Klaviyo and CDPs that could store all the data about the customer for a while now. It's been around for a while. And what's really different now, though, is understanding each customer. I think before, when you could just store all the data about the customer, you as a marketer still had to say, okay, I want my green shorts to be sent to customers who match this criteria. I want my toothpaste to be sent to a customer who matches that criteria. Or if this is just a random example, if I'm a bank, I'll send the stock investment marketing to Joe, and I'll send the credit card offer to Bobby, right? But what's really interesting is, like, you had to be dictating those rules as a marketer before. And we had technologies like machine learning that could say, you could ask it to do very specific things. Hey, predict me how likely is the customer to be interested in the credit card? And they would give you a score. But you didn't have a technology that could actually look at every user and think about the individual journey for them, or the individual recommendations for them, and the individual strategy you should have as a brand for them, both short and long term. And that's what AI allows now. And I think, if you use ChatGPT a lot, right, the memory feature is a great example of that, where the more you use it, it starts remembering things, it starts personalizing to you as an individual, and your results can look really different than my results. And what we think is now that technology needs to be brought to all the marketers. That's happening at a technology level. That's what products like AI decisioning we have are doing, but it also needs to happen at people and process level, because it's a big change to go from a world where you're releasing 5-10 marketing campaigns a week or 3 a week, to a world where you have this huge database of content, you need offers that can be turned on at any time. And this, AI system is helping decide who to send them to. It's just an entirely new workflow. And the way you organize your team, the way you do analytics, like, it all sort of has to change too. And that's where the no comes in, which is, you have the tech, but there's still a lot of other work to do to utilize it as a company. And it requires partnering with other business stakeholders too. Like, your merchandising team will say, what do you mean you're not going to promote the new color item that we have on the shelf? We need to sell that thing. And you have to say, yeah, we do. But if we just send it to everyone, or all people who live in Tennessee, that's, not going to be as effective as if we let AI give us some recommendations of who to send it to, and actually wait and send it at a later time to some people, or don't send it all to some people. And it's just an entirely new workflow for marketing teams. And the other piece I'd say no on is, I think content generation is still nascent. So I think it's not really ready to the point that you can just use it in front of your customers. And it will be eventually. And that'll allow us to move it at a much faster level from one-to-one personalization perspective. I think a lot of personalization is just when you show things, right? And maybe you have a lot of good content. It's just when do you show it to the customer, which ones. But I think the content generation can take it to the next level, which we'll see in the coming years.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about is a fundamental shift in a playbook that goes from kind of linear to exponential. I don't know if that's the right term, but right, what you're saying is like we think we know our customers, we've got them segmented, and we do stuff and put stuff in front of them. And part of that's driven by, merchandising wants to sell more widgets, CEO wants to sell more of that. What you're talking about is almost an always on flow of information. It's more like jazz than, I don't know, not jazz. I don't know what the right analogy is, right? Because, and you can imagine in a generative AI scenario where you are generating, let's say, thousands of offers that are kind of personalized and customized, but you can't review all of those. So you're then trusting that the AI is like, all right, we've got it kind of tuned and we've done enough testing, we've moved through it. But I mean, I guess that's my point about marketers and data and tech is it's just fundamentally changing. So if you're a marketer today and you're thinking about, scaling up a customer experience program or a customer journey program or your retailer or whatever, you're now having to think about something that like literally wasn't possible just a couple of years ago. So it's not like the playbook's broken. It's like, there's a whole new playbook and you better figure it out tomorrow or soon, which I find fascinating again.
And it applies to, which agencies are you working with too, right? I shouldn't name names, but it applies across the whole stack.
Yeah, no, it's actually a great point because like a lot of marketing teams, almost all, but a lot of marketing teams use agencies. Are those agencies up to speed? So
you have to be using multiple if you want to really embrace AI.
Yeah. And so that mindset, right. And that shift, and we've seen some incredible things and we've seen some missteps. The nature of generative AI is the generative part, right? That like, it's going to do things that you're like, oh, I didn't expect it to do that. It saw something in a given customer segment or individual customer. And it's like making this offer. It's going to make mistakes. I think that's the other part that I think the human mind, is going to struggle with the scale and scope. If we're a really large business, we're scaling this thing up, we're going to let it go free at some point after enough testing, right? But we still know there's some percentage of like, it's going to make mistakes and I'm not going to know it. And all of a sudden on Facebook or on TikTok, something blows up. Like, can you believe these guys? I've been a customer for 20 years, da, 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 da. So it's a very different, like, again, it's not like I think the AI is a layer of technology here that accelerates things in a way that I just can't think of anything that's ever been like this in our lifetime ever, probably in the history of mankind, probably. But
yeah, but I think, as I mentioned, like some of the content generation stuff and stuff like that, it's not quite there yet. I think there's a lot of companies in those spaces. They're not growing at crazy rates. I think, the functionality that is there though, is AI is actually really good at analysis of data and getting insights from data. And that's the functionality that I think is really reliable today and is the one that enterprises should be adopting left and right. Like you shouldn't be manually running all these queries to figure out what drives your customer to the high LTV. You should be asking a system that uses AI to tell you. I think you shouldn't be building an audience segment that you think is the best one to send this promotion to get people like win back your customers back into your brand. Right? You should be having an AI automatically experiment and figure out what are the best win back offers to send. What's the best ladder for them? Should you start with $10 and then get it to $20 if they don't respond? And should that vary based on what the customer did with you before they churn?
Yeah.
And those things are actually ready to use today. If you don't have them generating content for you, the downside of a mistake is not that high. And let's be real, the current state is that you're sending a lot of things that are likely not relevant to your customers. So
I think that's a great point, right? Because they're sure the future state might make some mistakes, but it's going to be probably more accurate or more generally speaking accurate than wrong. Whereas a batch and blast is going to be wrong for most, right? I mean, we see it, right? Right. I mean, a 20% open rate with a 1% click rate means, okay, 99% of people didn't click. So it wasn't very relevant.
Exactly. It's crazy sometimes to see how much pride and passion and personal belief. I mean, it's good in one hand, but it's also like people have on these emails or notifications or some stuff that they're sending out sometimes when the percentage of people that actually engage with them are quite low.
Yeah.
It's actually okay to make mistakes. We're always making mistakes, and we should have an AI help us make less mistakes over time.
I think that frame of mind is exactly why this playbook is so challenging for so many people, because it really means you have to be technically savvy enough. You have to understand what the technology is capable and not capable of. You have to be able to explain it to people who probably know less than you about it as much as you do or don't know.
And
You
have
have
their own
to,
incentives, right? Like
that's right.
your merchandising leader who is only responsible for one product, they're not going to be happy when you're not sending it out to all their customers. It's a
That's
hard
right.
conversation.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. This analogy is weird, but it's like you go to a nice restaurant and they're trying to get rid of all the veal. And you're like, I don't want veal. They're like, well, the veal's the special tonight. Like, I don't, they're like in the back, they're like, push the veal. Like, I don't, all right. But like the person doesn't like veal, so they're not going to buy it.
Exactly.
It is batch and blast. Why, like, as we're talking about this, it strikes me that marketing infrastructure has become much more technical. If you're a marketing operations person or even in IT, marketing is almost becoming like engineering in a way. I mean, what you're talking about is, serious use of AI, data analysis tools, as automated or not as it is. But am I sensing this right? Is there kind of a trend in marketing, or is it really the two sides of marketing are just splitting further apart's not the right way, but from a discipline standpoint, there's the creative, and even in the future, I mean, what you're talking about, I know the content tools aren't necessarily ready, which is an interesting comment unto itself, but like at some point it will start generating good content, which means the creative director, let's say, is like, I don't like that offer, but the customers do. Right. And so it becomes it feels very engineering powered at this point, the way you're trying. It's not a good thing or a bad thing, or just observing it.
Yeah, I think over the last decade, pre-AI, marketing's actually becomes so much more technical, and that's
Yeah.
created this divide between the marketers focused on positioning, brand, messaging, strategy, and the marketers who are focused on operations, technology, marketing technology, data analysis. And part of that divide is because the tools have actually been fairly difficult to use. I mean, um, I can empathize with this. None of the tools are rocket science in themselves. Using Salesforce Marketing Cloud, using Braze, using Hightouch, nothing's hard in itself. But when you're not doing that all day, right? You're actually focused on talking to your customers, learning what they care about, making messaging, making brand, and then you have to go into these tools. They're so bespoke and different. Like it seems normal for you and I that are living and breathing MarTech, but because it's not the case for others. I feel this as well, right? I'm the co-CEO of a business and I know how to use Looker and Tableau, but when I'm in a meeting and I have a data question, it's easier to Slack someone and just get the answer. The tools have become easier, but they're still really hard if that's not what you're doing all day. So I think that has created this divide between the marketers that focus on tech and operations and data and the marketers who focus on everything else. And I think what's actually really interesting is with AI, I think it's going to converge a lot more. So
Yeah.
everything's going to get a lot more advanced, but everything's also going to get a lot easier. Like instead of needing to know how to filter down to the nth degree of an audience builder and run an A/B test and make sure it doesn't conflict with your other A/B tests, you're just going to be able to say, I have 3 ideas of how to get my customers to, start using a credit card, and I'm an airline. Go figure out
Yeah.
which one's the best one and for who, and let an AI go do those experiments and go figure it out. And tell me what the results are, and then
Yeah.
tell me which content I should drop, and go ahead and do it automatically. And it's just going to get a lot easier, and you're not going to need to learn all these bespoke tools where you're like, okay, if I need to answer a web question, I need to go to Adobe Analytics. If I need to answer something on the marketing side, I got to go to GA. If I need an audience, I got to go to Hightouch. You're going to be able to talk to something a little bit more like ChatGPT and just be more goal oriented, business oriented, which is going to make the business marketers extremely technical and overnight, and it's going to give them a really interesting superpower. So honestly, I'm bullish on folks who understand where the technology is going. Don't try to overcomplicate it. they're looking for the simplest way to use the most technology, and are spending most of their time learning the business really, really
Yeah.
well. Because I think that doesn't go away anytime soon.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't know when, the timing is interesting because, while AI is super powerful and it's sort of happening really fast, I do think that humans can only change at a certain rate before things
Yeah.
start to break down. So there is some amount of time that it will take, but I will tell you, and this
But
again
one
has
of
come up
think about how fast ChatGPT is growing.
yeah, totally. I mean, look, the pace is crazy. I think what, some of what you're talking about right there is about UX and accessibility to stuff. I want to start to wrap up, but just as you're talking about it, I've had multiple conversations with people about the future of UX becoming more of a chat GPT experience, right? Once you've got all your data connected to these things through MCP servers or connectors or whatever, the notion of doing, a couple of hours of Excel based analysis becomes just asking the question and then following your nose down the path. Are you guys thinking, like, is Hightouch thinking about future UX, not in terms of like, we're gonna have a menu bar over here, but like just providing access through natural language, through maybe even voice or other interfaces? Is that on a roadmap somewhere, just generally speaking, or are we not there yet?
Yeah, it's heavily on the roadmap. In fact, we
Yeah.
we have some live features here, like a Copilot. You can just use in the product to build audiences, build journeys. It just drafts them in the system today.
Yeah.
Today, it's doing a lot of isolated things. But I think what we're really interested in actually is when ChatGPT first came out. I thought it was really fascinating. Thought it's like, oh, you can use it to write emails and search web content and stuff. But I think December of last year is when things got really interesting. When OpenAI released the O1 model
Yeah.
and the O3 model a few weeks later, which are the reasoning models that basically can really break down complicated problems and reach for one tool like SQL to answer this question, and then
Yeah.
look at HubSpot for another question, and then create some content over here, and then talk to each other. And those sort of blew my mind. And ever since then, we've been doing a lot of development work on the product because we think fundamentally you have the ability to like delegate a chunk of work to like a team
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
someone that can look through many, many steps and then come back to you. And I think that is actually the unlock. It's not just having a better chatbot interface. It's having a platform that can actually think through a problem that you give it.
Yeah.
We just didn't have that before. I think companies that are just trying to build a chat interface to an audience
Yeah.
builder, a chat interface to a journey builder, that's not what you need. You need an interface where you can say a problem and it can help
Yeah.
you break it down. That's where people are spending the most time today. And that's always where the bottleneck is because, yeah, I mean, how many problems can you prioritize really digging into?
That's right.
All these different people. But if something can help you do that faster, it's a huge unlock. So
Yeah.
that's the way I think about it. It's not the interface, it's the brain.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that will be. I don't think UX in the future for software companies or anybody is going to be necessarily a differentiator. Maybe Apple, but I don't even think Apple. I think it's going to be the brain behind it that's going to be the thing. I know the first time I got access to ChatGPT Pro back when it first came out with the operator and the O3 model, and I was like you, I was like, oh, okay, this is like, I don't know that I could have even imagined this but the moment you see it, you're like, I get it. Like, it makes all the sense in the world. The game has changed again.
Exactly. And that is like pretty crazy stuff. So
It is crazy stuff. All right, we're nearly there, Tejas. But before I let you go, I call this segment "Force Yourself," and this is my indulgence. So play along or not, because growth isn't always easy. It's never easy, actually. What's a time when you had to sort of push through a doubt, either professionally, personally? You had to change your mind. You had to kill your favorite idea for the greater good. Like, how did you push yourself through that? How did you force yourself to get through that whatever that experience was?
there's a lot. So, I mean, one interesting thing is many people don't know this. They don't exactly publish it online all the time. Um, but initially, Hightouch started as a travel company. So before COVID, we were working on a travel company. It's pretty much like ChatGPT for travel. Maybe it would have been easier to build a high quality product now than it was in 2019, 2018. But when COVID hit, we decided to shut the business down. It was making money, but it wasn't big enough for us to just wait and just see what happens with business travel, which was our focus. And it was a really good decision in retrospect that we did that. But it was about 6 months of just ideas on the whiteboard. I'd raised a lot of money for the company. We had to let go of the team. And my co-founders and I just sat around and just like put a lot of ideas on the board and just banged our head against the wall and talked to a ton of customers until we found something worthwhile to work on. And it was pretty grueling 6 months of just seeing literally the business just collapse overnight. There's March 3rd, 2020, all the metrics, if you pull up any dashboard, it's all went to zero. And that's a pretty interesting experience as a startup founder. But we were so committed to working together with my co-founders and so committed to building a business, figuring something out, and making the investors feel like they made the right decision in investing in us. And so we just kept at it. And so that's one thing that I really.
So you're it's the weeks leading to you got to make a decision, whatever the decision is, like, we're going to really shut this thing down. We built it. It's a profitable business. Like, you're laying in bed, like, what are you saying to yourself? Like, how are you getting yourself to be like, how do I get to the next place? Is it a mental exercise for you? Is it physical? Like, what do you do to sort of go like, okay, I've got it. Now I've got it.
I think I sleep on it for sure. That helps me personally. I don't know if that's, novel advice, but
it's great advice.
And so in first you're like, hey, maybe this will be gone in a week. In a week, it's still there. 2 weeks, it's still there. And then you just think, what do you want to be doing with your time, right? Do you want to wait out a pandemic? Do you want to do something? And so we decided to do something. That there's a one-way door and a two-way door, right? No one's booking business travel. We can always do that again if we want. But people are doing a lot of other things. There's a lot of opportunity right now. I mean, look at marketing technology and digital technology and Shopify and COVID, everything boomed. And so we just had to make the decision of like, ignore sunk cost fallacy. We're here to find a way to make a successful company. And there's just a path when you just think about the probability of what's going to be.
Well, I love it.
Yeah. Just
I love it. Spoken like a true engineer. No, it's great. It's awesome. I mean, look, making decisions is hard. Like, it's not worth lying about it, right? It's like, these are hard decisions to make. You guys clearly made a good one. This business seems like it's doing great. The new partnership and the investment and all the good stuff that's going on. So we hit a lot of things. We hit the ancient secret history of Hightouch. We talked about the CDP market changing, the changing playbook, the human factor, tech factor, AI. Tejas, where can people find you, learn more about Hightouch, learn more about you, and get connected?
Yeah, so my username is very boring. It's just my full name on most platforms, new spaces. So maybe just Google Tejas, Tejas, Hightouch, and that might be a lot easier. But hightouch.com is our website. It's like a high five and touch. One of the ideas we explored before Hightouch as it is today was a support platform, customer support platform. So that's where the name comes from. But we thought it applies to marketing, giving a high touch customer experience as well. Just find us online and reach out if you want to talk about MarTech or if you're looking for MarTech at your company.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me today. This is a terrific conversation. Really, really enjoyed it. And thank you out there for watching Playbook Broken. You can find us on YouTube, on martech.org, all the usual audio spots. If you're rethinking marketing strategy or you just know yourself deep in your heart that the old playbook is broken, subscribe, share, stay tuned. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.